I left my boss years ago because he didn't have a way for me to grow. So I want to make sure that when I have a great guy, when I have a great person, great human being, that I can give them a place to grow. So that's we really focus that in our business, and that's been really great for us because work can't be out there on the job sites anymore. So
Mhm.
they're an extension of us. So if we have great guys, we have great results. If we don't do that, then our production and our name suffers.
Welcome to the Painter Growth Podcast, where we help you scale your painting company in record time. Join us as we explore sales, marketing, hiring, finances, leadership, and more, everything that you need to know to scale and grow your painting business. I hope you enjoy and subscribe.
I'm with
Mike
you.
Hickman here, founder of paintergrowth.com. You're listening to the Painter Growth Podcast, and I'm here with Juan Vazquez. He is a founder of Illusions Painting, but Illusions Co.
Ink now.
Inc. and
Yes.
Titan of the Hispanic painting community. What's up, Juan? Stoked to have you here.
Hey, what's up, Mike? Thank you so
¿Qué
much for
pasa, mi
having us,
amigo?
man. ¿Qué pasa, amigo? ¿Cómo estás?
Estoy muy
Muy
bien.
bien, muy bien.
So,
Perfecto.
so I asked Nick to introduce us. I saw you at the
Yeah.
expo, but we never really connected. But now I asked Nick to introduce us because I thought it'd be great to have a conversation with you about how you got to where you are right now. Your podcast, growing up and building your painting company,
That's correct.
and the trials and tribulations that you experience now being a multi seven-figure painting business owner. Because as we mentioned before, it's not all sunshine and rainbows.
Nope, definitely. Those sunshines and those rainbows really hide from you sometimes when you want to grow, man. They're like, yeah, they're tough to find sometimes. Life can be a little hectic, but no, thank you so much for having me, Mike. I appreciate it. I know Nick made the introduction. I've seen you around. I know you great company that you have. I actually heard of a couple guys that work with you guys, and they have nothing but great things to say about you guys. So I'm very
Awesome.
humble and happy to be here.
So why don't we actually before I jump into it, one of the things on the topic of this podcast that I've
Hmm.
mentioned before that I believe in is like the way that I kind of describe it is like the top of the mountain is a mirage. So like as you're growing your business, like, oh, one day I want to be $1 million business owner. One day I want to do 100K in a month. One day I want to whatever, have 3 crews. But like you get to that level and you realize that like you're not at the top of the mountain. You're at the bottom of a way bigger mountain now, and the goalposts just keep changing. They keep moving on you.
That's correct. They call them the peaks and valleys, right? And so your peak, well, your current peak is your valley for your next peak. That's kind of where I heard that before,
Yeah.
and it is so true, man. And every peak and every valley, just like those big mountains there, you would think that once you make it to have, man, that other half is that much tougher to get to, right?
Yeah, it gets harder 100%. So
Yeah.
why don't you just introduce yourself and kind of how you got started in the painting industry, and then we're going to get into some pretty cool stuff today, I think.
Cool. All right, man. Thank you so much. Man, I've been talking about this quite often lately. My name is Juan Vazquez, as you mentioned. I was born in Oaxaca, Mexico, and my parents brought me to the United States when I was 12 years old. I had very little official education here in the States, probably about 3 to 4 years in school. Then I had a son at a very young age. I was 16 years old, and so just painting kind of just fell in my lap. It was a job that my neighbor was a painter. He asked if I wanted to work as a painter. I said, "Why not?" I needed a check, and yeah, I was 16 years old. It was 26, 27 years ago that I started painting. So painted for two companies. Painted for a company that we did all commercial when travel the states. Then I worked for another company that did high-end residential homes in our area. And in 2005, I needed to go do something for myself, and I left the business I was working with. And in 2007, in California, you have to have your contractor license. So I was able to obtain my contractor license painting, and that's how Illusions Painting started back in 2007.
So you started as basically you started painting 4 years after you got to the States.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it
And
was, like I said, I didn't have much of formal education. Just a lot of choices, wrong choices we did, and but what can I say? We're
yeah.
still here and we're still kicking.
Yeah. Okay. What made you decide at the time, in 2007 to start Illusions?
Well, something that I always seen in the industry, as you guys know, I mean, I started painting just because out of necessity. It wasn't like a choice. It wasn't my profession. So something that happened is I kept seeing a lot of these painters getting older and being, let's say, I don't know, 50, 60, and they're still painting, they're still pushing a brush. And so that's where my thing came. It's like, I don't want to be 60 pushing a brush. I didn't see myself, kind of going through my whole life and just having to do the same thing repeatedly. I felt that I could do more. So I talked to my old boss and say, hey, Greg, is there anything else I can do in your business? And basically, and I told him I don't want to paint anymore. I want to grow. I want to do something different. And basically, he said he didn't have anything else in his business that didn't relate to painting. And so that kind of moved me to say, hey, I'm going to try it on. And so I did. I moved on, and it's 18 years or so after here, I'm still here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So you started your business. What were the first few years like? Was it just you working on your own, or like how did the first?
Oh God! So for the first 12 years, I ran a business. I think the most I've had it was 7 guys, and the way I would run my business, I got the illusions came from back in those days. We used to do a lot of faux finishes, making things look, something that they're not, like marble walls and stuff. So that's kind of how I got my name because I really liked what I did, and I was very good at creating this new, vision and creating these new finishes and something that no one else does. And so that's how the whole thing came out, to be Illusions. I was known for that, so I would have two teams. One will get things prepped, and then once it gets to a certain point, I will start doing the finishes, and my next crew will start doing the next job, and that's how I kept rotating them. But for the first 12 years, I worked like that and I had a very comfortable life, but I wasn't doing much. I just had a job. I didn't have any, there was nothing, there was no growth, it was just repeatedly over and over again. And I was looking for something that was going to help me, take the next step. I always felt that there was more. So I got introduced to PCA. My Sherwin Williams sales rep took me to one of these what's it residential repaint conference here in our area, and that's when I met Josh Everson. He's in Southern California. He runs a very successful business. It's Albright Painting. He's the guy that conducts the Paint It Forward for the PCA. So, I mean, such a very respectful guy. And he's the guy that really brought out the PCA. He was the first time I heard about the PCA, it was from him saying how he started his business as a young man, and he got involved with the PCA, this association that he actually found a lot of network and a lot of people that helped him grow. And that's how we started. We went to the PCA in 2018, and that really changed the story for us and for our business.
Yeah. And so fast forward to today, what is the business overview?
So right now we're run about 30 guys. We sold and produced over $3 million last year. We have an office staff, and now we have, leadership people. We have project managers. We have business developer. So now we're actually creating a business instead of just having a job.
Yeah.
So that's basically what we're doing now.
Yeah. Okay. Very cool. So you're creating now a business. What is now that you have 30 guys and you're scaling things up, probably continuing to scale. What has your job become? Like what's your role?
I really got out of I first, my role was to get out of my whites. I did not like whites. I don't understand why painters have to wear whites. So my first goal was to get out of the whites. So I got out of the whites, and then I was doing all the sales and the estimating. I really did not like estimating. So that was my second one. So now my role is become of the CEO. My role has become of like creating that team, putting the right person in the right seat. And basically my job has become to strategize and to go out there and learn more. How can we improve what we're doing? I know that the wheel's round, but how can we make it more efficient? That's basically what my role has become in the company. The
Okay.
visionary.
Visionary. Awesome.
Yeah,
And do you
that's
have like you have a production manager? Do you have a
Yes,
you have a
we have
production
two
manager?
PMs. Yeah, we
Two
have two. We
PMs?
have one that's a senior PM. He's been with us for about a year and a half, and then we have a new guy who has been with us for 2 years,
Yeah.
but he's been moving, steps, and so now he's our estimator slash project manager. So yeah, it's been great. It's a game changer.
Yeah. So over the last 5 years, since making this initial shift, getting introduced to the PCA, to where your business is right now, what do you think were like the one or two like most difficult things for you as the business owner, in order to like make that change? Because that's a big change in a pretty short period of time.
It is. It is. I, you know, I do this quite often. I give out these speeches throughout the states, and something I think that's the most important thing, at least for me now, is the mentality. Is your mental stage, because before I had a lot of opportunities, great opportunities, but mentally I wasn't ready. So I think just being in the right mindset really helps you take advantage of whatever it is that is coming your way. So that was a big plus. And something that really has helped us lately here is having clarity of what is it that we want out of business. Who is our client? Who are we serving? What is our goal? Like those kind of things I didn't have before. And so now at least we have a goal to work towards.
Yeah. So you have a lot more clarity on like where the business is going, what you need to be doing, what kind of actions you have to take.
Mhm.
Were there any like big setbacks over the last 5 years that you weren't expecting?
Many. I think there's more setbacks than growth sometimes, right? I think one of the biggest setback has been that the same crew that we had did not have the same mentality that we had. So we actually had to like go through, basically recycle all of our, but we have to go through our whole crew. Most of the people that we have on board hasn't it's been with us probably 5 6 years. Everyone had been with us over 10 years is no longer here because there's been so many changes in our company that there really wasn't for them. And we had to understand that they weren't growing with us at the same rate that we were growing. So that was a big setback. Another setback is understanding that now, before we had 7 8 guys, now when you have over 30 different people, there's 30 different mentalities. So now you have to cater to everyone, and have to find a way where you can actually communicate with everyone, and make sense. So as you grow, I think that's something very important to keep in mind.
So how do you deal with that? What type of communication cadence do you have with your painters or with your PMs, or how do your PMs deal with your painters? Like how do you make sure you're reiterating your painters' goals and they're staying accountable to them?
Huh. Well, it's in the beginning for me. I was very involved, and it was very verbal, very like, this is what we do, this is how we do it, and it is great. But when you talk, and when it's verbal, at the minute you say it, 30 minutes, that retention, and then it's gone, right? So what we've done is we created charts, we created SOPs, thank God for Nick and his SOPs. We created a lot of SOPs, standards for our business. So basically, what we're doing is systematizing the business to where it's like, it's not that I want to do something, is that in order for our business to grow and thrive, this is how we have to do it. And it's not my way. I have a business partner. It's not his way. This is the Illusions way. This is how we all do it, and this is how we all grow together. And so that's basically what we've done. There's some pushback, but every time we do something, we'll put it out for the guys, and we like to get their feedback. And sometimes we have to remove something completely because it's creating more chaos than helping. But that's basically how we've been doing it. Just
Yeah.
having more information out there for them.
I got a fun question. I don't know if you have an answer for it, like you can think of off
Yeah.
the top of your head, but what's like a recent example or an example that you can think of something that happened in the business that like made you create a process around it?
Oh
So like
God, almost everything.
someone made a mistake and then you're like, okay, we need a process around this, or like some like relatable story that you can share with.
Well, the easiest thing is like, so most painters, most of us painters that come from the old school, we don't have a very defined like structure of like what each person should be doing. Like what's your obligations. And so before it was like, oh, okay, how, like, we didn't know who was the actual painter, who was the foreman, who had something. So something very important for us is not so fun, but it was more like, okay, I got to define exactly what my prep, obligations and duties should be. Then I went to my painter, then I went to my foreman, and then in between those we realized that some painters will not transfer from a painter to a foreman because they're really great painters, but they don't have they don't know how to create a strategy, they don't know how to manage people. So what we did is we had issues, so what we did is we created a lead in between. So a lead painter. So now my painter can be either, I can have him be a lead painter. He's not going to be the greatest painter, but now he understands how to lead people, and I can transfer him to a foreman position. And my painter, who's going to be a great painter but does not have those leadership skills, I'll put him as a master painter, and so he can still, so I can give him a place to grow.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if that's what you were looking for, but that's kind of like,
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get that. Yeah, that's actually a huge gap that most business owners don't have, is even job descriptions. Like,
yeah,
okay,
exactly.
you have a painter, like what do they do? What is like, do you use scorecards? Do you follow like the EOS framework at all?
Which one? What do you mean?
The EOS, like the
So I do. I work with the EOS. We don't have scorecards like you said. I know we have all the things. Basically, what we do is we do a 6 month review, and but throughout the week we have charts. This charts basically we can oversee the
awesome.
projection of the job. We can track. Are we on target? Did we miss our target, or are we still on track? And so that gives us, like, the guys have an allowance of hours per job, and then that way we can actually keep these guys accountable for them, and then that in return tells us whether they're doing their job or not. And so
Mhm.
these things get updated every day.
I'm just trying to find this one. I wanted to show you this because one of the things that we offer or provide our clients, I'm not going to be able to find it right now on on the gun, but it's just like a job description and like KPIs around
Oh, yeah,
all of the
KPIs.
levels of painters and team members. So from apprentice to painter to senior painter to crew lead to production manager to operations manager. And we have like the KPIs and the job descriptions and like what definition of success is and what the requirements are to move up, and the pay compensation based
Yes.
on each level. So if someone's like, hey, I'm making 25, how come he's making 28? It's like, well, that's because
That's
he's a
right.
crew lead and you're a staff painter. If you want to
And
become a crew lead,
that's
here's what you need
basically
to
all we
do.
do. That's kind of what we do. Simplified it. I've learned too that our guys are paying. So I have someone that does this work for us too. I have a couple coaches that one of them does all the EOS. We work out of the EOS system. And so one of the things is that I've just heard this not too long ago. We were so into creating all these systems, and we wanted everything to be systemized and everything, right? But something that he told me that really caught my eye was like, man, he's like, please pay attention. You may you may sacrificing too much, because like some of these painters, they're going to be great painters, but they're never going to be able to create one of those systems, or do some of the things you want him to do. And by doing that, you're going to scare a great painter away from you. So we kind of had to go back and make things a lot more simple, just so our guys can understand that.
Yeah.
So that's what I was saying, that you get to a certain point in your business that there's a lot of critical points that you have to keep moving around.
100%. Simplicity is so important. I mean, even for
Yeah,
our
right.
program, one of the things we're working on right now is how we can simplify the first 30 days for our clients. We come in and we've been giving them like spreadsheets and videos and like calls and like all. It's like, how can we just get them more money in their bank account as quickly as possible? It's like, how can we get them the most results in the shortest amount of time? And like for the most part, especially for like a smaller painting contractor coming in, that most important thing is either more jobs on the books or more money in the bank. So those became kind of like our two criteria around like, are we simple enough in making people successful by getting either more jobs in the book or more money in the bank? And if we can do those things, then we're successful with them.
And that's true. And I think that's something is the same thing that we do with our guys. Like we have to make sure that we give them, we were having a lot of issues kind of getting employees coming in. So something that we were having an issue, it was like 2-3 years ago, was hiring, right? And I've learned that, okay, you don't just want to have a company that's attractive to your contractors and your clients, but it's also attractive to painters, people that want to work for your company. What do you guys have? What business are you? What attracts other businesses? So that's something we had to work on quite often. So we started doing more trainings. I'm really leaving the whole thing about, like, I left my boss years ago because he didn't have a way for me to grow. So I want to make sure that when I have a great guy, when I have a great person, great human being, that I can give them a place to grow. So we really focus that in our business. And that's been really great for us because, work can't be out there on the job sites anymore. So they're an extension of us. So if we have great guys, we have great results. If we don't do that, then our production and our name suffers.
Yep. I got a cool quote or something. I can't remember who said it, but it was, if you like, a lot of people struggle bringing on high quality talent. It's like, how do I attract someone who's like a really like an A player? Because like people just don't know how to hire and recruit and retain A players. And I think a lot of it comes down to having their vision needs to be able to fit inside your vision.
That's
So
right.
your vision needs to be big enough. Like if you're a solo painter and you're like, hey, I just want to get to 20K a month and like feed my family and like go on a couple of vacations a year, like you're never going to get someone else who's like an A player and have their vision be able to fit inside that. But if you are just getting started and you're like, hey, I'm going to build a $10 million company and we're going to build this like huge enterprise, we're going to do all these different things. And then an A player comes in, it's like, oh, I see that vision and I see where I fit in that vision. Like all of a sudden you can retain way, way better people just by expanding kind of like your vision of yourself and your future.
And that's what we said, that's what mentality is so important, because if your goals are too small, then you're gonna attract people who are like that. When your vision is way bigger, you're gonna bring those guys. You're gonna bring those guys who are really want to get to that point, and they're gonna be with you for a while. I understand that they're not gonna be most likely with you forever, but for that time, they're gonna drive you, and they're gonna be that era of painters that are going to drive you to where you need to get there, and you're going to help them drive them to where they need to get. Once you get to that level, then those move on to the next step, and then you got you guys behind you pushing up. It's a constant rotation. PC8 has, I think for me, like in PCA, it really has given me all these tools, and it's not PCA itself, it's the network that we've been able to create. You know, 5 years ago, I would have never thought that I want to be sitting down in front of my computer doing podcasts, talking to people from across the country, from Canada, from all over the place. And I was just another painter, and now this has opened the doors to so much more. But understand that it takes an intention. It takes for us to really get out there, and we have to be able to fail. We have to be able to let ourselves fail a couple times to get up and do it better. You know,
Mhm.
and a lot of us don't want to do that. A lot of us are like, nope, I don't want to try that because I'm scared to try it. I'm scared of doing this. Just go ahead and do it, man. If it
Yeah.
doesn't work out, I'm always being like that. If it doesn't work out, guess what? I can always go back to what I was doing.
Yeah.
So that's kind of
Yeah.
like if someone is getting started in their business, that's something they got to do. Just get prepared because it's gonna be a bumpy ride most likely.
I've actually had that exact same thought, like starting my businesses over the years. If everything went south for me, I could always go back to painting. I could always find
Right? I
another paint
mean,
job.
so you were a painter yourself too, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
There you go. See,
Yeah. I had a
so
painting business for just about 4 years.
yeah,
And yeah, it went really well. And I had to shut it. I had to move out of state, out of the province for a girl. So I shut down my business. But me starting my company, like I knew I could always go back to painting if everything just went south. Like I know how to get a job, and now I know how to get a job better than ever. Like now I've been coached 600 plus painters, so I
But
think
see,
it'd be pretty easy.
but you understand the business. You
Mhm.
understand that you have to grow that business mentality. And unfortunately, when you look at the data, about our painting industry, it's very low. We're an industry that hasn't really been, like, what's the word I'm looking for? It hasn't been like developed the way it should be. They still look at a painter as a like, you just a painter, or
Mhm.
you just grab a bucket and paint. But when you when you look at the industry and what we see now, especially in days with all our social media, with all the resources that are out there, this can be a very successful business. I've met people who are doing uppers of 10-20 million dollars in their business, and they just started with the bucket and a dream. So there's a lot of room to grow.
That's what Jason says, a paintbrush and a dream.
Right. I mean, I was just there with Jason and them at the Nick's retreat, and I got to tell you, when you get to expose yourself to individuals like that, it really helps. It helps the mentality. It helps the momentum. It helps like you look at them and like, wow, like they're human like us, but they just do things a little different.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that's really what helped. That's what helped us a lot throughout the years. It's just being out there, being involved.
Yeah. At our mastermind, we had our last one in April. We have another one coming up in October, but our last one in April, we talked about, as people were coming into the mastermind, they're walking into the room, the conference room
Mhm.
for the first time. They're sitting down, they're looking around at everyone else. What you do when you go to a conference, you just kind of size people up,
Yeah, of
and
course.
and what one of the gentlemen who was there who shared is like, hey, when I got here, I thought everyone here had it figured out except me.
Hmm.
And then as we went and we did our sharing and our intros and we went through the vulnerability exercise and everything, he's like, now I realize that nobody has it figured out
Hmm.
and like we're all here together.
Oh yeah. And if anyone tells you they have it figured out, don't believe everything you hear, right?
Yeah,
Because
exactly. Everyone's faking it at
everything
some
has its own
level.
challenge. Yeah. Oh, I mean, I'm I was in a group with a Nick's retreat, and something that I got out of it is like these guys are amazing. Like these guys are, I mean, beyond successful. And now they're like, okay, like now what? Like they got their business to where they wanted or more than ever wanted, and now what do you do? Now you have a different challenge. What do you do with yourself? What's the next step? Like there's always going to be those things. So yeah,
Jason struggles with that a lot right now.
what was
Like with
that?
I know Jason struggles with that a lot right now.
Yeah,
What's to do
poor
now? Like,
guy has to poor guy has to go learn how to fly a plane just because
yeah,
he's bored. I'm like, that must be nice.
fun problems to have, but there's still problems, right?
Oh, You know, I think we all sit there, right? I remember I've always I I got what's his name? I can't think of it right now. But I wanted to get to $1 million. You know, I didn't know like for what. I didn't know why. I just it always sounded cool. I'm like, if I can get to sell $1 million, I'm like, I'm set. I'm gonna reach the peak and then I'm done. Uh, the
And
day
you get
that
there.
well, when I didn't even realize that we passed that. When I saw it, I was like, when? Tom Reber. You met Tom
Yeah,
Reber,
yeah,
right?
he's been on the podcast.
Yeah, so you know how he is. He doesn't hold back. He tells it how it is. And when I was in one of those webinars with them, he asked, like, what do you want out of your business? And the first thing I said, this is, 2018. This is right after, right after a PCA. So I really thought, I was like, I want $1 million. He's like, all right, tell me why do you want $1 million? So I'm like, honestly, I don't know. It sounds cool. And he goes, okay, let me tell you something. I was like, first, go prepare yourself, go involve yourself, go do all these things. He was like, because right now, if you make it to $1 million, you may get that $1 million. It's like, but you're not gonna know what to do with it. You don't know how you're doing it or what you're doing. But when you go get yourself ready, when you go and learn and understand why it's doing it, then you're gonna know. It's like you're not even gonna realize you're gonna pass the $1 million, but then you're gonna have an intention behind it. At the moment, I was like, great, thanks for nothing, right? And that happened. And now every time I see him, I'm like, thanks, bro. Thanks. So yeah, it's been a roller coaster, man.
Yeah. So one of the themes that I wanted to kind of revisit today was that like it's not all sunshine and rainbows. So now,
Mhm.
your business, you did $3 million last year. And a lot of people's ultimate dreams is to get their business to $3 million a year. Like that's a pretty common goal.
Mhm.
So tell me a little bit about like what's going on in your business right now. Like what are some of the current challenges that you're up against?
Hmm. So I mean, we have a few. The we live in a very unique area in California. We live in Pebble Beach, Carmel, Monterey, very high end areas, and so some of the homes are 100, 150,000, $150 million homes. So we can do a residence for over $1 million for a paint job. So it's amazing, but it also has a lot of there's a lot to it, right? Getting these jobs, like some of these jobs will take like 5 years to complete. By the time they start building it, by the time we give the price and start building the project to the day we close the door, it's 3 to 5 years roughly. So it's all these time in between that you can have a couple years. Like this year, it's a slow year for us because a lot of these homes are getting built. The last 2 years have been super busy because we had two, three of those big projects. So the next couple of years are going to be extremely busy because we have a lot of these bigger projects. So it's how do we bring enough people? So that's why now we created this new entity, the Illusions Inc., because we want to bring more services to offset those times where we're not doing these big homes. So we understood that it's great to have this niche, but we have to be able to have more things and more services if we want to grow. So now we're separating. We can do $2 million in this area of the business. We can do $3 million on this area of the business. We can do $3 million on this area of the business, and that's how we're gonna get to where we want to get. So those are the challenges. Like I said, it's finding the right people. Now you're not looking just for painters. Now you're looking for leadership, and so that is very tough too because I mean, someone like that, they can either make or break your company too. So those are those growing pains are the ones that are being tough right now for us.
Yeah. Have you put have you had an experience putting a wrong person in a leadership role?
Yes. And it cost us time. And well, the good thing is that we can see the progress and stuff. So if it's not working out, then it's not working out. We've
Mhm.
learned that it is okay for us. We understand that we have to fire probably people more faster than we do hire them. So yeah, I don't like to do it, but it has to happen.
Yeah. What was something that happened with the wrong hire in a leadership role?
So first, when we first got our first PM, again, there's the painter mentality. I always thought that I needed to have someone that needed to come from the painting industry, especially for a PM. I thought that I needed to have someone who understands painting, who understands all this. Um, and so we brought someone. We actually promoted someone that worked with us. Great painter, great attitude, but no management skills. You know, and the problem was that we didn't know what we needed from a project manager. We've done the project management forever, but we didn't have the structure. So every time I go to an event or every time I talk to someone, I'll have a question. And that's what's great about my network that I've been built, because I can just pick up the phone and call anyone across the country, and just they're running a very successful business. They have all these sensors. I'm like, hey man, I'm having this issue. They're like, no worries, I'm sending this your way. And that is invaluable. That's just extremely valuable for us. So we brought this guy in. It just wasn't the fit. We couldn't train someone on something we don't know what needed to be trained. So now our new project manager, he doesn't come from the industry, but he has a lot of knowledge on project management. So now he brought his skills, and we say, this is how we do business. You bring your skills, and that's how we put it together. And that's how we've been successful with that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's an important lesson that a lot of people eventually learn, is that the painting skills are the easy ones to learn and to teach.
I think so. I think so. Yeah, they're actually, painting skills. You're gonna learn those. It's like Nick says, human beings. That's where you need to put your time. Like, is it the right person? Do you have the right attitude? Uh, how is it with the AOS? It goes, can you do it? Are you available to do it? And you have capability. I can't remember. It's three of them. They
Yeah.
have to you have to cover with them. I was like, huh. Yeah, because before I thought that we had the issue, but that we do have issues. We just have to bring the right person in.
Yeah. One thing that I hear a lot, I always reply to comments, to
Mhm.
people who are commenting this, or people who say there's no good painters out there. I can't find people to work. No one wants to work. No one wants to work hard. All young people here are just entitled and they want free money. What do you say
No.
how would you respond to a comment like that?
So I got to tell you, we have a lot of experience with that. About 3 years ago, again, we go back to that time where like we couldn't find any painters. We couldn't. So what's tough in our business is we sell our jobs. Our average job in the high end sector is $500,000. That's the average. Then we go into the repaint section, which is $43,000. That's our average. And on the maintenance jobs, it's 16,000. When I speak to a lot of people, they're like their average job is like 6,000, 8,000, 10,000, per job. So they have to sell a lot of jobs.
Hmm.
But so maybe you don't have to have someone very technical, but for us we do. Like for us, we have to have someone who's really good at what they do, and so that's why it was so hard to just hire someone. So it's like, no, we have to hire someone that has a lot of knowledge, that has a lot of this. But guess what? Those are the guys that don't like to follow directions. Those are the guys who they've learned one way and that's it. So what we did is we started hiring younger guys. So we have a guy. His name is Herson. He actually has been with us for 4 years now. But the second year he was with us, he ran a job. He ran a $1.3 million paint job with no experience. Okay.
Okay.
So we just train him. We train him. We sat with them. We understood that he doesn't have to be the painter. He just had to be the guide. Bring in the just overseeing the project. And that's kind of, so it's not that we can't find great painters. It's just that we have to be creative nowadays. There's a lot of it. I think most of it has to start with us. Are we doing our job?
Yeah.
Because we can bring a really great painter, but are we doing the right things to keep them busy, to keep them motivated, to keep them excited? Because these guys need to be excited about what they're doing. So it's all these things. Are we doing those things?
Yeah.
So that's what we've learned from the experience.
That makes sense. The way that I look at that is like, number one, previously, like, can their vision fit inside your vision? Like, even if they're coming on as a staff painter, can your vision, you have to have at least a big enough vision to have them within it, right? Number two, are you organized and you have your stuff together? Number three, and I really like this saying, no one wants to work a dead-end job for a shit boss.
Yes.
So do you have career progression for them? Do they know how to make more money? Are you developing their skills? Are you helping them achieve their goals? Or are they just clocking in and out for $25 an hour with no future, idea? And then I think the final most important one is, are you hiring for attitude or are you hiring for skills? Because if you're just looking for an experienced painter who has all of the skills you need and who's willing to work for you, who doesn't have another job, like, good luck.
Good luck, because all you're gonna get is a VIP, like they say, right?
Yeah, exactly. Someone who's got too much of an ego and is not going to listen to you. But if you hire for attitude,
we had
you
a
can
lot of
train
those. Yeah, no, we had a lot of those guys, and they were great, amazing at what they did. But it was like, you're trying to give them something to look at. They're like, oh, what is that? I'm a painter. I don't do that kind of stuff. We fill out this charts every day, project daily reports. We call them daily reports. So it's just a very simple report of like what you did, what you did it, and little things, because a lot of the work we do is time and material. So some of these contractors, they want a sheet and an explanation of everything that we do. And so before, it was very challenging, because we were like, they'll fill out time cards, and the time card would be like, painted walls. I'm like, for a wall for 8 hours. I'm like, okay, painted walls where? Oh, over here. I was like, okay. And what did you guys do? Oh, I don't know, just painted walls. No. So we have a guy that puts all the information in we use Jobber for our estimating system and CRM. And so he puts all the information on Jobber, and then we have our separate chart system where we put the job and what the job entails and how many hours they have per each section and what they're doing. So the guys, all they have to do is just open the application, go in it, and just, let's say you painted walls in bedroom number 2. They'll put like, oh, I did 2 hours there. Okay, 2 hours there, and then they put 2 hours where they need to go, 3 hours here, and that's all they need to do. So we made it very
simple to
simple.
manage yourself.
No, but even that is tough for a painter. Let me tell you, and a lot of painters will tell you that. So that's one of what we're working on, because we do want to know where we're spending our time. We want to know how much we're spending. We want to have these data, because we want to bring more. See, we're preparing for the future. That's something that a lot of painters, when we're at a less than $1 million or so, we're just kind of surviving. We're reacting to things, as opposed to when you start paying attention to things. Now you're prepping. Now you're getting ready for something, and so that's what we started doing. So we're getting ready to hit that higher level, and by doing that, is all this traction, all these data, we can go back and be like, oh, this is what it took. This is how long it takes. We know how much a door is going to cost us. We know all these things, and we can go back and go back and go back. And all this goes back to Mr. Nick Slavic. So got to give him credit for that.
Yeah. So two things I want to kind of end on. Number one, tell me about Los Pintores.
Los Pintores. Okay, so I'm part of the speaking bureau for the speakers bureau for the PCA. And so by doing that, I get to travel the states and talk to people. Um, with Sharon Williams they put these events together. And so what I started doing, we started traveling different places, and we get to meet a lot of guys who are just at the entry level. No, they got one or two guys, and they want to learn a little bit more, and they want to know about the industry. So we're like, how do we do that? So that's when we're like, oh, what about a podcast? So our podcast, Los Pintores, basically what it is just a place where we introduce someone, a painter that hasn't been introduced, and we introduce them to the industry and anyone that we know, and they really like it because now they're like, oh man, I saw this guy on your podcast, or I heard this guy on the podcast, and I can relate to his story, and now they connect. And so now this guy has one more person that he can talk to, and then that other person connects with his network, and it's just a little role that we started creating. We also have a small community on the WhatsApp app. And so we have about 150 painters there, where basically anyone in our network, we put them there, and it's very intentional. Like if
Okay.
anyone has an issue, we're there to answer. And they're usually guys who answer really quick, any type of answer, some jokes and stuff, but it's really great. We started one on Facebook, but then it gets too big. There's so
Yeah.
much people, there's not enough value, I think, in it. That's we asked, and everybody wanted to stay in WhatsApp because they wanted to keep a small, controlled group. And yeah,
Yeah.
it's been working really great, man. I really enjoy it.
Yeah. Is that just like a Spanish group? Spanish major?
Yeah, basically, and mainly, like I said, my whole thing here in the industry is to promote the Spanish initiative, to promote the Spanish contractors. There's a lot, already out for the English speaking country. There's a lot of resources. So now by being part of the PCA, it's like, how can we relate to you guys? Some of these guys speak English, but they're not really like up there. Like you said, some of your clients do speak English, but they're not aware of all these things that they're out there. So that's my job. Just
Yeah.
bring awareness to everything that we have out there. We're just looking of different ways and venues and avenues to share this. So that's why when Brandon, they invite me over to their, podcast, it's a great place for me to share this information with you guys. And now my network just got a little bigger,
Hmm.
and that's how we reach more people. That's kind of my goal.
Awesome. I love that. And then how does that relate to your involvement within the PCA?
I think it's the same exact thing. I was asked by Dave Reichert a couple years back if I was invited to be in the PCA on the board, and I was like, "Me? Why?" I can joke around a lot. I can just run my mouth. I'm good at that stuff, but something, I guess, is they really see the importance of the Hispanic community. I mentioned this to you. I understand it's like a 60%, 65% of our industry is Hispanic, you know? So there's all this opportunity. There's all this, these are new accounts, there's going to be so much more growing in the next, years, to care for the Hispanic community from everyone, and is going to create more business, and is going to help these small companies grow. And in return, that helps us elevate our industry, and it's much needed. So my involvement on the PCA is mainly to bring awareness to the Hispanic community, and be that bridge, be that the connection between the PCA and the Spanish community. So as you know, we're putting an event in California this month, actually next week,
Okay.
yeah, 12 and 13th. And so full in Spanish is basically like a mini expo. It's completely in Espanol. And I
Solo
just
para
really
las
feel,
personas español.
no, también si no, if you don't speak Spanish, we want you there. That's kind of like the joke all the time. It's like, so if it's in Spanish, do I go? I'm like, dude, 90% of who are there speak English. We're in America. So I tell my guys, because sometimes some of these guys are like, but why does it have to be in English? Why does that have to be in English? I'm like, guys, we live in America. If you're gonna go present an estimate, a proposal to someone, is it gonna be in Spanish or is it gonna be in English? I think 99% of the times it has to be in English, right? When we pay our taxes, we still pay them in English. but it is important too to not just understand. It's not that we want to separate anyone. It's not that we want to cater more for. No, it's just we want the PCA and the industry to grow as one.
Yeah.
We have the women in paint. That's kind of why I really love PCA. It's because we're trying to bring more people in. There's like the women in paint. My God, there's so many women out there now being painters and being successful that I was like, God, like it's super cool. I think they have a big advantage, over us, and so, but it wasn't put on the spot before as it is
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you're going to be at that. You kind of, I would love to get, yeah. As I get a little bit better at Spanish, I want to get more involved in that.
Well, that's what we talked about. So next year, no excuse, man. Mike tiene que hablar in the next PCA Expo, right?
Yeah.
Ah,
I'm going to tell my my Spanish tutor that we'll do it dos time para semana.
dos veces por semana.
Yeah, there we go.
I like it.
Gotta get 2 lessons a week going if we want to catch up there. But I mean, we already offer like customer success in Spanish.
nice.
We have a lot of support in Spanish. We have Spanish subtitles on all our videos.
That's
You can
cool.
enable live translations on all our Zoom calls. But we don't have a Spanish coach yet. So that's going to be eventually, hopefully sometime early next year.
And see, and this is what's coming. Like I said, I spoke to a couple people in the industry partners, that they understand the significance, and it is great for our business. But at the same time, there's a whole 65% of the industry on that side that is asking for this, that wants this, and so that's why it's important to cater to everyone. And I know that they can communicate, but I think it's when you bring that human touch and you bring someone who can actually understand a little bit more where they come from, it really changes everything. So
There's a
no,
difference. There's a difference in being able to like communicate who, what, when, where, why in one language versus like talking about your dreams and aspirations and goals. Like that's a whole different level of understanding. And if I don't,
oh
if
yeah, of
you
course.
need to have that way like deeper understanding of the language to be able to get into that type of stuff.
It's 100%, 100%. There's Spanish. We have Spanish in Central America, Spanish in Mexico, but we also have Spanish in the Caribbean, Puerto Rico. So there's a lot of that community, but it overall is the culture. I think that if you can bring that and bridge that, that's really what creates that unity, and that's what we're shooting for at the PCA. But I got to tell you, it's a challenge, just like any other startup, man. It's been a challenge, but we're super excited. We have over 100 people registered, so we're extremely blessed and happy for this.
Love it. And if someone wants to reach out to you or learn more about one of these opportunities, where can they go?
So you guys can find me, Juan Vazquez. I'm on social media. You can find me on Instagram,
We'll put
Facebook,
your
Instagram.
links below here.
Yeah, we'll put the links, and then like I said, you can do that. PCA, PCA has a lot of resources that some we just don't even know about, or most people don't know about. There's a lot of resources out there that you can use, especially if you are looking to get started. Because I think that's the biggest thing. Just how do you get off the ground, and then get off the ground right? Don't wait 12 years like I did to start implementing some stuff, because then now you're not just only creating something, but you are doing 12 years of bad decisions. So God, that was tough.
Yeah. And then you regret wishing you figured that out sooner.
But it's part of the learning. I that really helped us. We say we're about 5 to 6 years into the business, because those other years were just, they were just like, training wheels, if you would say.
Yeah, exactly. I think
Yeah.
that's a great spot to stop, though. I could talk to you all day, man.
Yeah. No, thank you, man. It's
Yeah.
there's a lot of good things going on in life, especially in the
Yeah.
business, man. So yeah, so
Thanks
that's
for
been
coming on.
awesome.
And I think we'll definitely have to have you on again.
No, thank you so much, man. Like I said, no, I definitely got to get you going on this Espanol. We're gonna do a whole series. We want to bring more value. Like I said, if we all we've done is kind of introduce. And not, I'm not saying that there's no value, but it's introduction. Now we want to bring more someone like yourself, someone who can actually say, "Hey guys, you got to do A, B, and C as you're moving." Kind of more, yeah, more educational
Yeah.
on our podcast. And even if it's not in Spanish, I think they, like I said, some of these guys can definitely learn, you know, what you guys do. So that'll be
Yeah.
awesome.
Let's do it. Thanks for coming
Cool.
on, man. Appreciate
Hey, thank
all
you
you
so
do for the
much.
industry.
Thank you so much, man. We got a lot more to do.
Thanks for listening to the Painter Growth Podcast. If you want to grow your painting business, go to www.paintergrowth.com or click on the top link in the description. Talk soon.